Very good morning to my fellow listeners. And welcome to the Casual Frequency, where we dive into Malaysia's journey to sustainable and inclusive housing.
That's right. I'm Lim and I'm joined by Ong Yu Feng. Today we're exploring one of the most pressing issues affecting millions of Malaysians: access to affordable housing.
That's right. A house is more than just a building. It's a safe space, a source of dignity, and a foundation for stability where a simple space will turn into someone's home. The ability to own a home is just not a dream. It's a basic human right.
Absolutely. And it's closely linked to the Sustainable Development Goal 11, which aims to make cities and human settlements inclusive, safe, resilient, and sustainable.
So in this episode, we'll be talking about the importance of home ownership, the factors that influence it, the challenges people face, and of course, some solutions that can guide us forward, especially in the context of Malaysia.
So let's jump right into it.
Why does housing matter so much? Because it directly connects to the quality of life, health, education, job stability, and even mental well-being.
I absolutely agree with Ong. So for example, a family living in a stable home is more likely to send their kids to school consistently. Health outcomes are better, and there's less exposure to crime or environmental hazards, especially if you are living in a well-maintained township.
From an urban planning perspective, affordable housing prevents the rise of slums and overcrowding. It supports balanced city growth and reduces inequality, example as in Kuala Lumpur.
Hey, let's not forget about the economic benefits. The housing sector drives demand for construction, materials, and jobs. Plus, it fuels related industries like furniture, interior design, and even finance.
That's a definitely good sector for economic growth. And when we talk about sustainability, well-planned housing helps reduce carbon footprints. Think of homes built with green technology, better insulation, and located near public transports like LRTs and MRTs.
That's true. How about now let's take a look at what actually influences a person's ability to own a home in Malaysia.
Location is a huge deal. People want homes close to work, public transports, schools, clinics, and even public facilities. But homes in prime areas like KL, Penang, or Johor Bahru are often out of place financially. Example is, even as a rental resident, you need to pay at least close to 1,000 per month without even counting utility bills. This will skyrocket. This is due to the high demands that the skyrocket marketplace. As of today, residential properties can cost up to 1 million in Kuala Lumpur with an estimated base price of 350,000.
That's so true actually, because right now so many people just end up living so far away or spending hours in traffic or on the train just to go between work and their homes. So this impacts their family time, their personal time, their productivity, and even job opportunities.
Now, let's talk about price and financing. This one's very obvious. Property prices have outpaced wage growth recently. For the B40 and M40 groups, it's almost impossible to save for a down payment while dealing with everyday expenses. Even if they are able to afford the aforementioned down payment, they still have the subsequent installments and subsequent expenses to worry about.
So I've got some information here. So according to Bank Negara Malaysia, a home is considered affordable if it costs no more than 3 times the annual household income. But most homes exceed that limit. Typically, lower housing prices are accompanied by further distance from urban centers. At this moment, the majority avoid direct property purchase and favor renting. What do you think about the eligibility and government assistance in this case?
It's quite a complex matter. There are programs like Prima, PPR, and Rumah WIP. But not everyone knows how to apply, or even if they qualify. Some complain that the application process is too complex or take too long. So for example, some may take up to weeks for a result to come.
Also, there's not enough transparency about which kind of units are still available or when the future projects are going to be launched.
That's definitely a pressing matter.
About personal needs instead, what do you think?
Well, let's not forget about that too, since it considers individuals. A big family might need a lot more bedrooms, such example 3, 4, or even 5. Elderly buyers may look for ground floor units for convenience. Others prioritize safety, nearby childcare, or even a park.
So the home ownership isn't one size fits all. It
Definitely
really
not.
depends on multiple overlapping factors
Yes,
depending
definitely.
on each individual and
Yes.
family. Alright.
Alright, now let's talk about the big challenges. Let's break down some of the biggest hurdles that are preventing Malaysians from owning a home, especially those in the B40 and M40 groups.
So let's start with the most obvious one, which is the shortage of affordable homes. According to the National Property Information Center, or the NAPIC, NAPIC I guess, only about 20% of new housing units launched in recent years fall into the affordable category.
Affordable with quote unquote.
Yeah, quote unquote.
That's right, and when we say affordable, it usually means homes priced under 300,000. But currently, most of the developers are building units above that price range, especially in urban centers like Klang Valley and Penang.
So why is this the case? This is because high-end developments yield higher profit margins. There's more money to be made from condos, service apartments, and luxury townhouses.
So what happens? People from lower income groups get pushed to the outskirts, places like Rawang, Semenyih, or even further. And that leads to longer commutes, which affects work-life balance and even job opportunities.
That's true. So now let's talk about property speculation. In cities like Kuala Lumpur and Johor Bahru, property prices are being driven up not by genuine home buyers but by investors.
Exactly. These investors often buy in bulk, hoping to sell later at higher price, but many of these units end up empty for years due to the high pricing.
For example, is the infamous Forest City in Johor. So it's a massive development project aimed at foreign buyers instead of the locals. Today it's practically a ghost town, empty apartments, underused facilities, and a clear case of misaligned priorities.
And what's that? A waste of properties.
That's true.
Now, let's move on to something more practical. Construction quality. It's just because a house is cheaper doesn't mean it's meant to be poorly built.
But in reality, there are countless complaints from buyers of low-cost housing. Problems like cracked walls, faulty plumbing, leaky roofs, and even unsafe structures.
I'm also the victim of that, in which the residential area that I rented was quite dirty.
Oh,
It wasn't renovated for years. Even the AC unit was broken before I need to call a service in.
that's really unfortunate.
These aren't just minor annoyances, they affect the long-term livability and resale value of the property. Worse, poor quality housing can become hazardous, especially during floods or heavy storms and even infestations.
Okay, so next up, loan approval issues. So according to Bank Negara Malaysia, almost 1 in 2 loan applications by B40 or M40 buyers are actually rejected.
It's quite unfortunate. Why? Well, it's partly due to the low credit scores, irregular income, especially for the gig workers, and the rising cost of living. Many just can't meet the bank's requirements.
Young people in particular, they struggle the most in this kind of situations. They are either saddled by the PTPT and debt, earning entry-level salaries like 1 to 2k to 3k, or lacking credit history altogether.
This majorly affects the job opportunities, which lead to loan approval issues, since bank is not trustable enough for them to pay back the amount. And let's not forget the informal economy. Food riders, freelance workers, small-time traders that are not registered, their incomes are real but not documented well enough to qualify for loans.
And finally, there's the information gap. Many Malaysians are unaware of the eligibility for housing schemes like Prima or Rumahwit.
There's no single platform to compare housing projects. Check loan eligibility or see if you're qualified for government subsidies. Everything is scattered. Some infos are outdated and most is filled with confusing jargon and complex terms and conditions.
That's really true. Even online property websites tend to prioritize expensive or luxury projects because of paid advertising. So affordable housing gets buried under the radar.
Yes, for the first time when I tried renting for residentials, it took me hours just to find an affordable one other than the ones that cost 2k per month. And that leads to frustration. People feel lost in the system, unsure where to start and who to trust.
That's really. So when we talk about challenges in housing, it's not just about the price actually. It's about the access, the transparency, the education, and the overall trust.
Yes. Now, solutions that align with SDG 11. Let's just not highlight the problems. Let's talk about solutions, especially those in line with SDG 11.
So my first suggestion is to improve the policies. So the governments can actually enforce inclusionary housing policies, like requiring developers to allocate a percentage of units for the B40 and M40 groups.
That does benefit them. Also, streamlining application processes, since we did talk about the complex processes during the eligibility for loan application. And ensuring transparency through a single national housing portal could really help.
Okay, interesting. Up next is about financial literacy. So young buyers, they actually often don't understand how loans work or how to manage their own debt. So financial literacy programs in universities or just in maybe high school including, or through community centers can actually help them prepare better for the current state of the world.
This is definitely true. Ever since the start of KSSM, Form 3 students have been introduced to credit, payment, debit, down payment installments in their mathematics subject. So now, Bank Negara and NGOs can also collaborate on housing education modules for the gig workers and informal earners too.
So for me, I have another point, which is about innovative construction.
Go ahead.
So I think using methods like industrialized building systems, IBS, or the building information modeling, BIM, can actually reduce the construction time and cost.
Agreed. These technologies is to improve consistency and quality, so we avoid problems like poor finishing and structural issues.
Well, I have a quite unique suggestion, which is including eco-friendly designs.
Green technology.
Yeah, especially since right now it's actually fairly popular. I feel
Yes.
like green homes using solar panels, rainwater harvesting, natural ventilation, and smart layouts can allow us to reduce the utility bills, and not only that, we actually can save the environment.
That's definitely a good point since the current weather now is unstable. Malaysia's climate is perfect for solar energy since it's a tropical area. Incentives for green home design could encourage more sustainable developments.
Yeah, that's true. And I have one last suggestion.
Yes.
And I think this one is quite important. I think we should implement like a community-based planning, or maybe the government could do it too. So the mixed income neighborhoods could reduce the social segregation. When different income groups share the same space, it fosters this kind of empathy and community resilience kind of environment.
Although it's a bit risky, it's about building not just houses, but neighborhoods with soul and passion.
Yes, yeah. So, what's the takeaway? Affordable housing isn't just about cost, it's about access, equality, sustainability, and planning.
And it's not just the government's job. Developers, banks, NGOs, and even we, citizens, have a role to play by just staying informed, participating in dialogues, and advocating for better housing projects.
As Malaysia works towards the 2030 agenda, let's ensure that no one is left behind, especially when it comes to something as basic and as important as a place to call home.
Now, thanks for listening to the Casual Frequency. Don't forget to like, share, and follow us for more content for sustainability, urban development, and social equity. At the same time, we would like to express our gratitude to our members, Moses and Dave, for finding the information for us to start this podcast.
So until next time, build wisely, and live sustainably. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.